This is a video to install these Trail Ridge tow mirrors on my 2014 F-150 FX4. Got the max tow package. I had some, whoever had this truck before me had some add-on manual mirrors. I wanted the powered mirrors. So the truck has the retractable power mirror ability, but not the extendability. I've already started a project that I documented. These mirrors have power extend, power fold. The truck, just by plugging them in and putting them in, they've got the 3-bolt mounting bracket, so they just plugged right into where my old one was. I have the ability to just flip a switch and fold them in. That all worked right off the bat. Power aim, adjusting the mirrors works just fine. The only thing that doesn't work right off the bat is the power extend, which I'm adding now. The lights come with a turn signal and a lower lamp, which by plug and play goes into your puddle light circuit, which is already in the truck. I'm going to turn that puddle light circuit into a signal driving light circuit. I'm going to tap it into the yellow blue on the BCM. I've done some research. I'll include some links for the research I've done, but you have the option of either adding your own custom puddle light. You'd have to drill in. I've seen videos where people take these mirrors and drill in a LED puddle lamp. I'm just going to take that puddle lamp circuit and turn it into the parking light circuit, which I'm going to use Fortran to run my parking lights along with my driving lights. This is the passenger side. This is the side I've already started taking apart. I'll show how to take the part on the other side. There are plenty of videos that show how to take these door panels apart. It's really easy. Just 4 screws and it lifts off. With these Trail Ridge mirrors installed, you've got the 3 bolts holding it in. This is the Trail Ridge harness coming in from the mirror. This is the truck adapter. For my truck, it's a 18 pin, I want to say. And if you do the research and do the reading, you'll find that these Trail Ridge mirrors want to use pins 2 and 9 for the power extend. The factory harness from the mirrors already has a disconnect for the 2 and 9 pins. All the videos and research I've seen show people order the little crimps, run wire between the 2 doors, and add those pins to the back of the factory Ford harness, which you can see that they're open on the passenger side. On the driver's side, I believe those are used for the auto dim circuit, which people then remove. I'm going to do these a little different. I'm an electrician by trade. I kind of want to simplify things a little bit. This harness already has a disconnect on pins 2 and 9 on the mirror side. I'm just going to cut these off of that harness, and if I need to disconnect these, I'll disconnect it here. And that's my pins 2 and 9. So I don't need the little crimp-ons that people order special. You can't get them anywhere. The old days, you used to be able to go down to Radio Shack and get them. Radio Shack went the way of the Blockbusters. So I'm just going to use this. It's right there, and that's a disconnect. So I'm going to disconnect these, and I'm going to use my power extend circuit there. This also has the puddle light circuit, which is that purple wire there, pin 9. That is supposed to power your puddle lights. By default, that goes in and powers the lower lamp on the side of your mirror. I want to say there's, yep. The factory also has a disconnect for that, if you wanted to do something special with that. I've thought about running a separate line for the parking light circuit, but I'm just going to use that. So just so you know, if you order these, on the mirror side there is a disconnect for that puddle light circuit that you can do something with. I'm just going to use it. I'm going to leave this connected, and down at the BCM I'm going to redirect that puddle light circuit to the signal, or to the parking light circuit, so it'll run when I use my driving lights, which I'll use Fortran to run at the same time as my driving lights. But you know, for whatever information you need, that purple wire, that's your puddle light circuit. Mine, in my situation, it's got a short. When I use Fortran to do a diagnostics, I can't just, most trucks you just plug it in and that light comes on with the puddle light. Mine don't work because I've got a short to ground somewhere. Fortran does a diagnostic on it and says somewhere in my truck I've got a short to ground, so I'll have to figure that out. But for the regular people, that's what that is. Some people run a whole bunch of wires between the two sides. I've got some, I think it's 18 gauge doorbell wire, solid. I'm just going to run that through. After you take the door panel off, you have to remove the speaker to get able to get inside the door. Inside the door, you can then run the wire through this grommet. Some trucks have a disconnect, like this is a physical wire harness that you have to unplug and drill through to get a wire through there. I'm lucky, I've just got a little rubber boot, so I was able to just run I just pulled it off with my hand, ran the wire through to here, and other people have to disconnect their BCM and take it out all the way. I got lucky. I just stuffed this little red wire in there. And there it is there with the blue tape on the end for the head. So I'll reach in there and grab that, and I'll run the two wires behind the dash over to the driver's side, and that's where I'm going to power the power extending. I'm just worrying about the power extending right now with these two wires. Once if everything goes away, I think I should be able to hear it at the BCM tap the parking signal, which on this wiring harness right here is there, that yellow blue wire. On my truck, it's a yellow blue wire. I've seen a bunch of diagrams. I think there's also a yellow green somewhere that people can use. What I want to use is right there. That's the parking light circuit on, I think it's pin 6 on this adapter. I know I'm not showing where it went, but it's like I want to say it's a 15 amp fuse, 15 or 10 amp fuse, and that goes to all the parking lights around the truck. And so that's what I want to run my side lamp on. So I'm gonna get lucky. I don't have to take apart my BCM and disconnect it from the truck. I've already got two wires through, the two wires for the power extend, and I'm just gonna redirect the existing circuit for the puddle lights. Okay, so far I don't know if I should go buy a lottery ticket. I think I'm getting really lucky. Like I said, I ran some doorbell wire. I think it's 18 gauge, 2 wire. Every video I've seen shows people tearing all this apart and fishing wires back there. I was able to just push it through from the speaker here, through that boot. I took the boot off, I just put it back on. I was able to go from behind the BCM up in there, got it to poke out, grabbed it. You see it right there, the two red and white wires. Came up behind the glove box, figured, hey, I'll just try it. Stuffed it through there, and it just poked out the other side. So I'm gonna just bring it around, and then I'll show you how to take that driver's side door apart, and hopefully this goes really easy. All right, here's the driver's side door. I don't have anything taken apart yet. You're gonna need, for my truck, it's 2014 FX4. I need my sizes were different than other people's videos said they needed. think I need a 6 and an 8 millimeter. You got four screws. You're gonna have one behind this plastic cap here, one below that little removable piece there in the door handle, and then you've got two along the bottom. I don't know if you see them. You'll see them underneath the bottom of the door molding. This piece here, now I have a set of these dash removal tools that come in very handy for impatient people like me who like to just stab a screwdriver in, break a bunch of stuff, and then get mad. This plastic piece was very difficult. Every video shows somebody sticking some special instrument in there and popping that out. I had a hard time. So what I did was I got a pink can opener. See if I can do this and hold the camera. If I open the door handle and look back and behind there, there's a piece where it's blocked, and then there's an open piece where you can get a hold of that black plastic plate. I get the can opener back there, and I just pull it, and it just popped right out. I'm doing this one-handed, so it's really not this difficult. But that's how you get that out of there. Okay, that little plate, I had to use two hands to grab it. The paint can opener just popped that thing right out with just a really light tug on the edge of that inside edge of that plastic behind the handle, and it just popped right out. You're gonna have I believe an 8 millimeter here, and then for this I use a little plastic door removal tool. You'll see a little edge, and I'm not gonna bore everybody with it, but basically you're gonna stick this under there and pop that thing off. All right, using the plastic removal tool, I popped this little square off. There are edges on here that can break. So if you're impatient like me, try not to break those off. That's the other, I think it's an 8 millimeter. It's a little different than the others. Try to keep track of which one you take out. That one's a long one with a solid head. The one in the door handle is a shorter one with a washer, attached washer. Okay, so here's the two 8 millimeter screws. I said the one that came out of the door handle looks like that. It's got I forget the term. Anyway, so that's what that one looks like. And there's the one that came out from behind the latch. And then next you'll use a 6 on there. There's one right there and right there. Okay, I've got all the 4 screws removed. I'll show you how this thing just lifts up and out. It's gonna be hard to do with one hand. Basically, it just lifts up and off. You're gonna have the door cable and a couple removable clips for wires. Down on the bottom there's the 4 catches that it hangs on. Let it hang on those for a minute while you remove this latch, this cable, and disconnect these. These are super easy. You just feel for the button. This one's in the front, and this one feels like it's in the back. Just like that. Oh, I got another one on this one. Okay. And then you can squeeze, this will spin. You can stick a tool in there. On the passenger side, I just stuck my plastic removal tool in there, push those latches in, and then pulled this guy to the front and out. And I was able to take this off, because you got to be able to get to the speaker. When I first put these on, I just let the thing hang, but I want to get to that speaker, take that speaker off so I can get my wires up into the door. Alright, door panel's been removed. I ordered the bezel. I'll show you the parts, but I ordered the bezel that actually has to go I actually will have to cut into this plastic. I'm not really sure how yet. Another video shows a guy before and after he did it, but didn't show exactly how he did it. He said he used a rotary cutting tool, which I have one. I think you just cut little slits and it snaps in, I think. I'll show you the tool. You guys can come and do your own decisions on that. To get the speaker out, I found on the other side, I think it takes a 5.5 millimeter. I don't have one. I have a 5 and I have a 6. Don't have a 5.5. Couldn't, smaller than a 1/4 inch, so I couldn't cheat. I did find in my tool bench an E8 1/4 inch socket. It's a star bit. It worked. It fit in there just almost just fine. That got it out of there okay, just so you know. All right, so the speaker is out. Just stuck the screws to the magnet to hold on to them. Now I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna see if I can keep my luck running. You can see I can now reach easily into that guy. Every other video and description I've seen shows everybody taking all this apart, taking the e-brake out, taking all that molding out, so that you can get to this. I can touch it with the inside of my hand. I'm going to see if I can't just push that through. Now other people may have a harness here, a big conglomeration that you have to disconnect and drill through. I just have this boot. It's just a rubber boot. And so I think I'm going to get lucky. And I'm just going to push my pair of wires into here, and that's going to power my extenders. And I'm going to use existing puddle light circuit for my signal lights. See if I can get away with this. All right, well, I should have bought a lottery ticket today because so far I've been getting really easy. Getting really lucky. I was able to just push this wire. I refed it up and around this column. I'll clean it up later. I know it's kind of sloppy looking. Kind of came around, and I was able to just stick it right through behind the brake. I pulled this apart, was able to poke it through there, was able to push it through the rest of the way through that boot and right into the door. Super easy for me. I know it's not that easy for everybody. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this hole right here, and I'm going to poke it through there. I'm going to follow up the rest of the wires through the factory spot here, and then I'll have two 18 gauge wires going from one mirror to the other, and that will run the power for pins 2 and 9. Pins 2 and 9 on the factory harness into this mirror. And just like on this one's a little tighter. I think I got it stuffed in there, but on the passenger side I'll show you. Okay, so once like I said, I ran it up through that hole on the door, followed up. I'll clean this all up later. But I'm going to land these two guys on where on the passenger side it's 2 and 9. On both sides it's 2 and 9. On the passenger side they're not there. On the driver's side, I believe it's, from what I'm told, it's the auto dim circuit that's on 2 and 9, which you can remove because I don't believe these mirrors do have an auto dim feature. Here are the wires coming from the Trail Ridge mirrors. 2 and 9 goes to this orange set. I'm not going to get the pins and land them in there in the factory harness. I'm just going to skip that. I'm going to clip these off of the mirror harness. And if I need to disconnect them, I'll disconnect them here. You also have these pair of wires here. I'm guessing that that's your power direction on the adjustment of the mirrors, because these are power adjust. And then there's this one wire disconnect, and that goes to your pin 11 on your factory, which is your purple puddle light circuit. That guy right there. I'm going to leave it attached. I'm going to go ahead and utilize, I'm going to disconnect the, or no, I'm going to disconnect. I mean, every video I've seen shows somebody running an extra wire from the parking lights up through and adding it up here and sticking that pin into, or splicing it into that purple wire. I don't think that makes sense. To me, the purple circuit is going throughout the truck and it's already there. I don't understand sending another wire. So I'm going to redirect. I'm going to probably cut that puddle light circuit down here and simply land it on my parking light circuit, which is on this connector here. Normally it goes about halfway up, and it's that yellow blue wire right there. I believe it's pin 6 on this connector on the BCM. And then using Fortran, I can turn the parking lights into driving lights, or running them at the same time. So that's my plan. Clip these on the mirror, land them on these 2 wires going across, and then utilizing the puddle light circuit as a driving light circuit by splicing into the parking lights. Now I've got a short on my puddle light circuit somewhere. I was able to just pop this connector off. It's just got a couple of tabs on the side. I was able to just pop this off, and I was able to get my meter onto the connectors so that I can see that I do have somewhere I have a short on that pin 11. But that's my problem, hopefully not yours. Alright, just showing you how I'm doing this. I disconnected that connector on the mirror side behind pins 2 and 9. I left myself a little bit extra in case I always plan on if you ever need to undo stuff. So give yourself a little bit in case you need to get back on those. I'll just tape those up and cover them up if everything works right. You don't have a lot to work with, so be careful. Don't screw up. I had a little bit there. I stripped them back, landed half the connectors on them. I'll land the other half on these. This is DC, so you got to make sure you're careful of your polarity. Keep track of it. I mean, use whichever wire you want to use, but make sure you're consistent. Use the same wire on the same polarity. Okay, I have reconnected my BCM and I turned the power onto the truck because I wanted to test the one wire to the one set of wires to the one mirror that I have, just to make sure everything is going okay. Like I said, I didn't repin the factory harness. I simply took my 2 wires, disconnected the back of the mirror harness, and clipped and butt spliced them directly into the orange wires on the Trail Ridge mirrors. And then those 2 wires come across through the dash, through the boots, into the door, and out here. I used my meter. Everything's taken apart, so I just found 12 volts on this plug here, and I found ground, and I'm going to put these 2 wires between ground and 12 volts. And see if I can do this with one hand. There you go. I'm going to try to flip them. If I flip these around, and reverse it, okay, it's hard to do this with one hand, but it is working. There, I don't know if you heard it, but it went in. And then if I reverse these, because that's all the switch is doing, is simply reversing 12 volts. There you go. All right, proof of concept. This works. All I got to do is keep going with what I'm doing, and I hopefully will not have to do any kind of... I am not going to get pins and add on to this stuff. I'm just going to use what's already here. There's plenty of, it's plenty safe to not use this disconnect the wires behind there and use that disconnect. Okay, I took a break, did some research. Now that I've got my wires to the telescoping extenders done, so I got this wire pulled through, disconnected that from the back of the harness. The blue tape, you can see I taped off where it goes through the harness because I don't want the factory wires, if there's any juice that goes out to the mirrors on those pins, I don't want them to do anything. I don't want them to short out on the frame or whatever, so I taped up those and butt spliced them in. And here's the pair of wires from the driver's side. Here's a pair of wires from the passenger side. I tested them, I stripped them, and I found ground and 12 volts in the window up and down circuit. Pretty heavy duty. I just stabbed them in there, and sure enough I was able to reverse them back and forth from positive and negative between that blue wire and that black wire, and I was able to get the mirrors to go in and out as I wanted them to. So now I just need to wire the harness that comes with the switch. So here is the switch that I got. I've already removed on the door panel. Driver's side door panel had power fold and adjustment knob right there. I ordered this bezel and the switch from, I think, Costco Supply or something or other. So I got these all put in there already. I'll have to figure that out, but I'll have to figure out how to drill these. I'll have to make some holes and somehow get this to go into there. But for now, the best video I saw showed a guy use these, and he included the part number, and then in the video said he was going to show how the wires hooked up and then didn't. So I'm going to show what I found. I'll include some links with the wiring diagrams that I found, but from what I can tell, I'll be a little bit more descriptive, but from what I can tell, if I hold this up, and if you look at the diagram that I'm going to include, pin 1 is on top. As you look at the wire harness, not the switch, because it can be a little misleading, the wire diagram is not the back of the switch. The wire diagram shows the pinout of the wire harness. If you hold the holes up towards you with the clip release to your left, the key to the right, and you're looking at the holes, pin 1 is on top. All right, I had to figure that out, but that's what I found out so far. So it looks like, according to the diagram, pin 1 is on top, retaining clip to the left, key to the right, up and down 1 to 8. And I will hook these up to the power. I'm going to go ahead and use the power. I'm going to T-tap into the power of the mirror adjustment circuit. I went to a stereo store nearby, asked them if I could buy some T-tap clips from them, because you can't find them anywhere locally, and he just gave me a handful. So I took these clips, I found 12 volts in ground, and I found this is the clip to the factory fold switch to this guy. I'm going to go ahead and use the same circuit, because as long as I don't extend them and fold them at the same time, I shouldn't be overloading the circuit any more than it is. And it's right there, and if I ever blow a fuse, then I'll know, hey, the mirror fuse, that's where it comes from. So I tapped into the white, red, and the black wire. I've got 2 T-taps here, and I'm going to connect that to pins 4 for positive and 5 for ground. and I'll show you what's going on with that if this works. All right, here's an update to the wiring harness. Using the wiring diagram for the extension button that I ordered and wired using the harness and a diagram that I found, it doesn't work right. I'm actually going to show you my I didn't make a mistake, but I'll show you what happens if you don't wire it right and if you use the diagram exactly the way it says. I have power tapped into the power circuits from the folding button. There's a white and a red, and then there's a black. They come off of, I think, pins, well, the first pin on one side and then the third pin. So I tapped into those for power. Using the diagram, I've got a T-taps on those going into pins 4 and 5 on this. So I'm going to tell you and I'm going to show you. So the T-tap that I have on the power, I've got that in my hand. Goes into pin 4 as you're looking at it right there, and then ground is right next to it. So that's your power going into that switch, if that's the route that you go. Other people have just used regular switches and mounted them. It looked like a good spot. Some people have put them right here, put an individual switch on either side, cut them in. Looked really nice. I was tempted to do that, decided to go this route instead. Anyway, long story long, I've got power. Here's what happens when I use the fold feature. Okay, everything's working just fine. I'll hit it again. Extend out. Now, wiring it up exactly the way the diagram shows, here's what happens when I hit the left side of the new switch. Okay, I'm all the way. It actually pulls the driver's side out and the passenger side in. Now if I hit to the right, everything moves to the right. I don't know if you saw both, but now the passenger side is all the way out, driver's side all the way in. Now when I hit the left side, they both move to the left. Easy enough fix. I just got to swap a couple wires. But that's what happens, then that's what happened. If that's what happens to you, that's what I did. I wired this temporarily. I'm not going to keep these wire nuts on here, but just to temporarily see if everything works. That's what happened. Okay, update number 2, everything is working. So like I just showed you, I temporarily wired the harness to see how it was going to be wired before I did anything permanent. The way I wired it, which was technically exactly the way the diagram showed, when I hit the left side of the extending button, both mirrors went to the left, which is in for one and out for the other. Same as happened when I extended out to the right. Driver's side went right and the passenger side went right. So since the driver's side was doing what I wanted it to do, I simply reversed polarity on the 2 wires going over to the passenger side. I just flipped them because they're doing that. Driver's side was doing what I wanted it to do. Passenger side was doing the opposite. So I flip-flopped my wires on my red and white wires going over to the passenger side. Now when I hit the switch to the left, which would be out for driver, okay, they're already out. When I hit left, they both come in. You got to hold down the button. It's a momentary kind of a thing. Then I hold them out, which is driver side out, and they both go out. All right, hopefully if you guys are a little bit technically minded, you'll understand exactly what I'm saying. So everything is working. All I got to do is clean everything up and put everything back together and mount the bezel into my door panel. All right, so I'm getting ready to do for me, probably the hard part's done. All the wiring's done in there and the wiring works. The hard part for me is cutting this into the plastic on the door panel. I'm not a patient man, so I have a rotozip. I discovered, so I'm trying to get these clips, these 3 push-in clips, to line up with there, and I was, if I'm very careful and I line this up straight and level with everything, I was like quickly moving it to the side and trying to mark where those clips are gonna go. But I don't think, now that I look at it, I don't think these clips are dead down the middle. So that's not a good thing to do. But however, I did notice that if you look underneath, the factory, you know, depending on what model vehicle you have, there's spots in there for these clips, at least for the top 2. There's a spot here. I'm trying to just do this by feel. There's a spot right there, and you can use that top of that as a guide. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start there and maybe just poke a couple of quick holes with my rotozip to get a bearing up here on the top, and see if I can't be very careful and do a good job. Once I get a couple of them in, then I think I could put these in and then see where the 3rd one lines up and put that one in as well. And then of course I'm going to have to make a big hole for the switch. Alright, just a quick update here. I'm getting an idea of what I'm doing here. So I used my rotozip, and I started in the middle, and what I did was I started with a drill with a tiny bit. I came up through the bottom and I drilled kind of a tiny hole right in the center of the opening in the bottom, just to give me a bearing up top of where I'm at. I did right in the middle, that way I knew exactly where the center of that hole was in the bottom. So then I just kind of drilled, then I kind of came back and I drilled a hole on top, a hole in the bottom, just to give myself something to aim for. And then I used my rotozip, and very carefully at the lowest speed, I just kind of went in a straight line between my top and bottom hole. The rotozips are notorious for jumping on you, so just very carefully using both hands I went across, and I still kind of went out of my line a little bit, but I take a knife and I'll clean that up. Next, I thought it, well, the big switch part is really in the way, so lining it up best I can on top, you know, constantly be checking this hole and make sure that's lined up very carefully. Try to get an idea where this is going to be, the big box part. If I can get that out of the way, then this will slip down and I can line up my clips better. So I'm going to go ahead and do that next, and just very carefully I used a Sharpie and just drew a line where that's going to be. Let's see how this goes. Okay, that went better than I thought it would. Rotozips are really bad for jumping on you, so I moved in out of the sun. The sun was blinding me, so I came in here and used a flashlight so that I could follow my lines a little bit better. I went really carefully. You might want to start on the big hole part before you do the clips, because you can start in the middle of the hole and just kind of work your way out. I drilled some pilot holes in the corners so that hopefully when the rotozip hit those holes, it kind of give you a click to stop at. But I started in the middle and I just kind of worked my way. First I went counterclockwise because rotozips want to turn in, and then I went clockwise out and just kind of nicked it out a little bit at a time until I had a decent square, and I think it worked. So that seems to drop down into that part. So now all I need to do is really match up where the clips are going to hit, and the whole time making sure that this is lined up. I need to do that a little bit better, I think. And I don't know, I may have to take that clip out. Looks like that's going to be in my way. or I don't know, I'll figure something out. So far, that's what I got. All right, another update. Instead of using the roto zip on that front one, so I have this bigger hole here that I did with the rotor zip. It's a little bone chilling when I did it, but I managed to not really mess it up. I switched to my drill with a 1/4 inch bit because I can't get my rotor zip up here, and it turned out that wasn't actually a lot easier to use that instead of the rotor zip. So I used a 1/4 inch bit with my impact drill. Now I can stick this in here, and I sort of just eyeballed that front hole. I'm not going to snap it in because I have no idea if I could snap it back out. But once I got that in there, I can kind of use that as a guide. That sort of lines up there. I did end up breaking off the tab that came with the bezel. There was a tab key here, and it does not fit down into that hole, that factory hole there. So I snapped it off and cleaned it up and whittled off the plastic. So using that front key and lining that with that hole, now I think I can use that 1/4 inch drill bit, and I'll clean that up, get that to drop in. Once that drops in, then I'll know where that one touches, and I'll get that to drill in. So I'll drill in the other tabs like that. All right, just to show somebody, in case they want to know exactly how I'm cutting these with a drill, I got that first one that kind of managed to go very well. I'm kind of started using that as a key. So I kind of drop it into place there. My holes, I need to open up that inside hole, the factory hole, because this outer hole in the bezel, that's the one that it's actually going to clip into. So I'm only using that as a guide, but that's where it was. I opened up a large enough hole for the switch to fall into, and then where that hits, I'm looking at the side. First off, I'm making sure that my bezel is straight, so it's fairly straight down the line. If you got to open up that box hole a little more, one side or the other, do that. Then I take a Sharpie and I'm making a mark exactly in the front and the back. And then I'm taking a Sharpie and I'm marking where exactly it is. It's falling into place down there. And then I drill a 1/4 inch hole at the top and the bottom. And then once I do that, then it's easy enough to drill in and just you can kind of angle the drill and just work your way across. You may want to put a drill in the middle, and then as you go sideways, you'll kind of draw a line. There, and then I'll take a knife and I'll clean that up. Okay, I've got these pretty much done. Well, they're not done. I'm going to show you what happened. So I used a 1/4 inch bit on these, right? Side to side. Opened up little slots. I opened up that hole a little bit along the top to give the top of the folding switch some more room. I think I'm going to have to do it some more. Anyway, everything lines up. Everything pops in. But it's really hard to push down in. I've been sitting here working it, so they're kind of working their own way in, but they won't go in and click in. They are very resistant to go that last little bit. I mean, otherwise it looks good. But I don't think the slots are big enough for the clips to grab a hold of the plastic. So I'm going to step out. I started with a 1/4 inch bit. I'm going to step out one, just the next size up a little bit bigger at a time. See if I can't get those clips to actually go through and clip in. They're going in, and everything seems to be lined up, but I can't get them to stay in. All right, that did it. I went up to, from a 1/4 inch, I stepped up to a 15/64 drill bit, and I just kind of went back and forth a little bit, back and forth a little bit, using my knife to clean up the edges really good and smooth. And that sucker snapped right in, and it is not, I mean, I'm sure if I pried it, oh, that one didn't quite go all the way in. So it will come back out if I pull on it, but it's doing what it's supposed to. It's going in and it's snapping in. I don't know if that one's gonna stay, and I might have to work on that. It is coming up a little bit. So I'll work on it a little bit, but yeah, I went up to 15/64, and those back two are just, they're in nice. They're in really good. That's turning out way better than I thought it would. I just got to get that front side to clip down. And then I'll see if I need to open that up a little bit. I may have to take some of that top off, because this thing goes in and this thing will have to swing under. So hopefully that doesn't get in the way. Let's try it real quick. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to open that front end up a lot more. All right, so I took the plate snap back off just fine. I took the drill bit and I just kind of went back and forth across that top hole a little bit, try to open it up. If I feel underneath, I can feel where there's an allowance for some more room in the top of that hole. You can tell when they do these at the factory, there's an opening there for what we're doing. So I basically just took that drill bit and I started in the corner, and then I went to the other corner, and I then went across, and I'm going to open that up with the drill bit. And there we go. Now, when I push up from the bottom, having some focus issues. When I push up in the bottom, it doesn't seem to want to come out on, I mean, without a little bit there, it wants to pop out. I don't know if on a hot day that's going to be an issue. I don't know if on a hot day that's going to be an issue, but it does snap down in. Well, not really, it just kind of goes in. The backside is great. Backside, that's not coming out unless I push really hard. I love how that turned out. It turned out, I can't believe I did that well. Seems nice and straight down the sides. That turned out a lot better than I thought it would. If anything, I may have to revisit this in the future, because that does want to come out. I don't know if on a hot day that may expand and come out. But that's the hard part. I just got to clean everything up, plug in the wires, and that should be that. Okay, before I put everything back together, got my bezel done, got the wiring butt spliced and permanent. Everything works. I'll show you did it all testing out. Before I button everything up, I'm going to show you exactly what I wired to what. Driver's side, the back of these trail ridge mirrors has its own disconnect. Every video I've seen shows somebody ordering pins and using the factory harness. I did not. I disconnected the mirror wires from the back of the harness that used to be right there, taped off the ends so that anything coming on that auto dim circuit doesn't do anything. Driver's side wires, I used the black wire on the white, spliced that into this harness. I'll include a part number in the description. And as I use the diagram, as you're looking at it like this, with the retaining clip on the left, the key on the right, that's offset so it only goes in one way. Pin is on top, pin 1 is on top. Driver's side mirror is using pins, sorry, let me redo this here. Pins 3 and 7. 3 and 7 are going to the driver's side. Passenger side, got that coming up here. Again, I used my white wire on the mirror's black striped wire. And these are going to pins 2 and 6. Pins 2 and 6, as you're looking at it like that. 1 and 8 are not used. 1 and 8 are not used. I got them capped off. On the power fold circuit, this is the plug that goes into the power fold instrument. I tapped into the white with red stripe for power and the black next one over from it for ground. And I've got power the one on top of my finger going into pin 4. It's not very clear. There, I can see it. So I've got my 12 volts going into pin 4 and my ground going into pin 5. 4 and 5 in the middle. Alright, I'm going to plug all this together, clean it up, wire all my tape all my wires up. I'll show you hopefully the finished. Alright, I don't have the panel screwed in yet, but the panel's on. All the wires tucked in. I taped up all my wires into a nice little harnesses so everything's all nice and neat. Be careful when you're putting the door panel on. Keep in mind it just goes in and drops down. There's 3 hooks along the bottom that it goes in and drops down on, a couple of hooks in the top, another one over there. All you got to do is push in and push down, but watch your door. You might want to lock your door so that that drops down as far as it can, and then you're going to have to use your finger and kind of guide that into the hole and then make sure that that's functional. That's the only trick to putting the door on. So anyway, looks good. I really like how it turned out. I may have to revisit it sometime, making sure that front stays in. But so let's see if I can see both windows. Here. All right, so oops. All right, so they both go in. Oh, that's new. Both go out. And hitting it to the right extends out. Hitting it to the left extends in. All right, took me most of the day, sun's starting to set, but it's gorgeous out. It was a nice little project in the garage. Thanks a lot.